Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th Annual UAGC Early Childhood Conference. You have chosen a really great session. We're going to be talking about supporting environments, connecting the classroom, children, and families. Melissa Thiebaut is here today to talk to you. She is an early childhood consultant, and she has been working in the field of education for over 35 years. She has held various positions, including Head Start, state level, early childhood coaching, and was the owner and director of a high-quality early learning center. She has been a college instructor for 20 years. Melissa regularly collaborates with school districts, intermediate school districts, Head Start agencies, and other community programs focused on the well-being of young children and families. She holds a master's degree in early childhood education from Concordia University and is currently working on her doctorate degree in early childhood education from Walden University. Melissa, we are super excited that you are here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this next slide is just a disclaimer that we'd like you to take a brief moment to read. By taking a few moments to read through this disclaimer, you empower yourself with important information regarding the boundaries of our knowledge-sharing environment. All right, we have one more disclaimer on the screen for you to read, and then together we are going to embark upon some exciting topics in early childhood education. And Melissa, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here today. All right. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me. We have a pretty short agenda, but a lot to talk about within the agenda. We'll be talking about relationships, the physical environment as the third teacher, inclusive classroom communities, and working with families. So let's go ahead and get started. So NAEYC's developmentally appropriate practice position statement, guidelines 1 and 2 are what we're going to focus on today. Guideline 1 is creating a caring, equitable community of learners. Guideline 2 is engaging in reciprocal partnership with families and fostering community connections. So let's start with those relationships, most important for providing a supportive environment. So children's healthy development is dependent on our caring relationships. The relationships you build with children are the foundation of a supportive classroom community. Early adult-child attachment promotes optimal social, emotional, and cognitive development. So if we can get this part right, these early relationships, if we can provide those positive, caring relationships, it will lay a wonderful foundation for our children, set for the rest of their life so that they know what those healthy relationships feel like, and it helps them out throughout their lifetime for positive mental health. So I want you just to take a moment to think about what you're doing in your environments to build positive relationships with children. This could be in a classroom, it could be with your own children at home, in a family childcare setting, wherever it is that you interact with children, what are you doing to build positive relationships with children? So you could pause for a moment and jot those things down so you remember all that you're doing. So we're going to talk about a few of those things, how to build relationships. So we're going to talk about positive communication and affect, respect, awareness and responsiveness, student comfort, student leadership, and individualizing for each child. So some of those terms may sound familiar to you if you have experienced a class observation, a class assessment observation. So we'll talk about each one of these bullet points. So positive communication and affect. So we all know that we should use positive phrases with our children, like saying walking feet instead of no running. But do we do it all the time in our classrooms, in our settings, and even in our homes with our own children? We're so busy. We have so many things on our mind. What's coming up next in the schedule? What meal has to be prepared? that are we really always using positive communication with children? So we really need to stop and pause and think about that. If you're working in a classroom or in a group family childcare where you have a co-teacher, a co-person working with you, help each other out. Listen for those positive statements and congratulate each other every time you hear one. Say, yep, you got it. You're being very positive in your communication. Positive affect. We have so many things on our mind. What is our body language saying? What is our facial expressions? What are they saying to children? Do we have a happy look on our face, or do we have that worried look thinking about everything in the lesson plan that we want to try and get through? So just keep that in mind, that we want to have that positive communication and a positive affect with our facial expressions, with our body language. Respect, so important in building relationships. We must have respect for children. We must have respect for their ideas, providing them with materials, things to accomplish their ideas, supporting them in their plans, just showing great respect for them in all ways possible. Awareness and responsiveness. When we're in a classroom or wherever your setting is, are you aware of what's going on all around you in the classroom? And are you responsive? So when you see a child struggling with zipping their coat, are you there to scaffold for them? So we have to be responsive to what we're seeing in our classroom. Student comfort. So here's one we don't always think a lot about. Are our students really comfortable in the setting? Are they comfortable emotionally? Are they comfortable socially? Are they comfortable physically? And I'll just give an example, like children playing in the water table. Sometimes those sleeves in the front of the shirts get wet and children don't like that feeling. Are you okay with them saying, I want a clean shirt, I want a dry shirt? And sometimes we think, oh no, that's going to put us behind schedule. It will dry, you're fine. But we want to make sure that child is comfortable. So taking those moments out to get them the dry shirt and to help them if they need help changing. But we really need to think about that student comfort and what is going to make students most comfortable. Student leadership. Do children have meaningful jobs in your setting? Do they help set the table? Do they help clear the table? Do they help clean the tables? Do you have different kinds of meaningful jobs, maybe watering the plants, feeding the goldfish, whatever meaningful jobs can take place in your classroom? This gives students responsibility. It gives them ownership in their setting. At your large group and your small groups, do you let students lead those? Do you let them choose the songs? Do you let them lead your counting attendance time? So just thinking about all those small ways that you can allow students to take leadership is building that relationship with them too. You're trusting them to take over in the classroom. Are you individualizing for each child? Do you know what their communication style is? Do you know what their developmental level is in each developmental area? Do you know their preferences, their likes, their dislikes? All of those things that we want to know about a child helps build that relationship. It helps us individualize for that child. We're going to move on to the physical environment. We're going to talk about the aesthetics of the environment, presentation of the materials in your environment, open-ended materials and loose parts, a home-like atmosphere, representing children in our classroom. So when we think about our settings or our classrooms, what does it look like? Picture that in your mind. As early childhood people, we tend to be pack rats. We save everything because we know there will be a use for it later. But when it's stacked on top of the shelves and the cupboard doors don't shut, maybe we need to do some cleaning out, some reorganizing, because the aesthetic of the classroom is important to the children and to their behavior. So if we have an environment where we have shown great respect in setting it up, then children will follow our lead as well and be respectful of their environment. Remember, children need to respect themselves first, respect their surroundings, and then to respect other people. So we're really teaching them more than just about the physical environment. How are you presenting the materials? Are they organized? Are they labeled? I prefer natural environments. You can see from the picture on my screen, there are natural baskets and placemats with sticks and pine cones. There's plants. Not only is it good for the quality of our air, but it gives it that really home-like atmosphere. So a phrase that I always like to keep in mind is that preschool should be home longer, not school sooner. So really setting it up like a home environment. You can see in the picture that I have chairs and couches in the library area. The books are right there with the preschool bookshelf, but it's set up more like a home, something that children are more used to make them feel more comfortable in your environment. Are you providing open-end materials in loose parts? Many times I see classrooms that are full of all kinds of brightly colored, primary color, plastic toys. So we want to keep our environments so they are not overstimulating for our children with a lot of bright colors. So the presentation of the materials, those open-ended materials, is important too. Making sure, like I said before, that they are labeled so children know where to put those things back. That's part of the respect of the environment. They know what container they go in, they know where they go back. Open-ended materials in our environment, like the wooden unit blocks, are so important. Children can do so many things with those blocks. They can build castles and bridges and houses, campgrounds, whatever they want with them. You can see in the picture, there's a basket of sticks. The sticks can be eating utensils. They can be magical wands. They can be whatever the children like. They are not limited. If I have a plastic spoon, it's pretty much just a spoon, maybe a shovel, but a stick can be so much more. Loose parts is a whole nother workshop, but just thinking about what loose parts, keeping it very open-ended. Do you have seashells and pine cones and sticks, maybe some recycled loose parts, maybe milk caps, laundry bottle caps, just having lots of loose parts that will really promote children's imagination. The material is not telling them what to do with it. They can use the material for whatever they want. Are we representing all children in the classroom? Do you have a child with glasses? Do you have books with children with glasses? Do you have dolls that are wearing glasses? We should have these things well before the children even come into our classroom, but being very conscious of all the differences that children may bring to your classroom and really celebrating them through the materials in your classroom. So thinking about your physical environment being the third teacher, even in your outside classrooms, we have a picture of a child here playing in the mud puddle with his truck. We want to think about our indoor and our outdoor environments as being the third teacher. You can't be everywhere at once, so you have to think about what are the materials in your classroom teaching the child. How are they going to provoke that child's curiosity while you cannot interact with them? Outside classrooms, thinking about, is your outside classroom, is it set up like your indoor classroom? Does it have a mud kitchen? Does it have a block center, a book area, an art center? So thinking about how you want your outside classroom also to be that third teacher. Or is your outside classroom purely nature-based? That's a wonderful way to use your outside classroom as a third teacher also. It really just depends on your setting, the preferences of the staff and of the families and of the children. So the third teacher in the classroom, the environment, simple and beautiful environments. So I'll explain each one of these pictures. So the first picture on the left, I have a display table and then a mural on the wall. So this is evidence of children's learning. So if you're familiar with project approach or creative curriculum studies, this is the last This is the last phase. So children are able to go back to their picture, to go back to their clay representations, to go back to the plants that they planted during this study, and really recall everything that they learned, talk to their parents about what they did, what they drew, what they made with the clay. That really promotes that higher level thinking. And it's just very simple. You'll notice in these pictures, there are no store-bought items. The middle picture is similar. It's coming from a growing study. You'll see paintings that the children made, plants that they have planted, books that they have read during this time. Just very simple, but very educational for the children. The one on the right, I just love. These pictures were all taken from a preschool in Reggio Emilia, Italy. So very simple and beautiful environments. So the picture on the right is a classroom loom. So children can come and add to the item that they're making. It will be a large piece of cloth when they're done, and they can just add to it as they choose. So throughout the time, most or all children will come and add to it. And what a great way to beautifully and physically represent the classroom as a whole together, being an inclusive classroom. Have some more pictures from a Reggio school. So on the left, I want to talk about that third teacher really providing provocations and suggestions for children. So on the left is, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of that picture, there is a city structure that the children have created using recycled loose parts. So lots of different tubes and blocks. And so after they built the city, then the teacher set a projector behind it, and it's showing the shadow of the city on the wall. So it's giving children a whole new perspective of what their city can look like. And then the children could continue building on their city, seeing what it looks like in the 3D representation and seeing what it looks like in the 2D representation on the wall. The middle picture was taken from a light and shadow atelier. So this is a place where children can go and it's a dim light. There are projectors showing the walls. Children can experiment with their own shadows. So there's some gross motor material in there, some tumbling mats. So children can really experiment with those shadows. So the suggestion or the provocation is for children to really use their imagination with their shadows. The picture on the right is in a children's dramatic play area. There's lots of real materials in there, so children can come in and they can grind up lots of leaves or seeds, whatever they choose, and really use those real life tools of the kitchen. Again, it's just a provocation. Teachers have not told the children what to do. They set the materials out and then they let the children take the lead with what they're using. So the classroom being the third teacher, we'll take a look at some loose parts in these photographs. So on the left is in a building area. So you can see the children are using these loose parts. They have some rings that wire comes wrapped on. They have some different tubes, just all kinds of recycled materials that they can build whatever they want. At the end of the day, it can be taken apart and be used again for something different the next day. On the bottom left picture is in the same building room, and we can see in the corner of it, there's a pile of wood. It really looks like a stack of scrap firewood. And in the boxes next to them, there are some rounds of wood, some smaller branches of wood, so that children can build with these natural environments, these natural materials, whatever they would like to. The middle picture on the top is in an adjoining classroom. It's still in a building area. So children are able to use seashells and stones. You can see where they built a ramp. They can experiment with what rolls down, what doesn't. But these loose parts are for children to decide what they're going to use these parts for. The materials do not tell them any one specific thing that they have to be used for. The picture on the right, I really want you to notice how these materials are displayed. Again, it goes back to that physical environment and how are you displaying things. So these items on the palette, there's shells and there's chunks of wood, there's rocks. They could just as easily be thrown in a box, but that's not nearly as inviting to the children. The teachers have spread these items out. They've displayed them in a very visually appealing way so that it's calling to the children to come and build with them and to do something with them. The third teacher, our physical environment outside, we can look in this mud on the left and how much fun. I mean, the things that children can do playing with mud are just endless. So the picture on the left is just a big mud pile on the playground where the children play, and there's wooden pieces and sticks and rocks in there for them to use for whatever they want. It's that third teacher. The environment is giving suggestions to provoke their curiosity. The picture in the middle is the mud pit that's a little bit further away. The picture was taken so you can see the toddlers are in there playing and the teachers in there playing with them. The bottom picture on the left is just a hammock hanging out on the same playground, just a quiet area for children to go and relax or read a book if they choose while they're outside. And the picture on the right on the bottom, again, is the same playground, but I want you again to pay attention to the display. So on the picnic table, there's a tablecloth, which is really sending the message that this is a really special place. The teachers have placed some rocks and sticks, some water cups, some paintbrushes for the children to do whatever they would like to do with it. So it's really items, materials that are just going to provoke that curiosity, give children some suggestions, but then let them do whatever they would like to do with them. So inclusive classroom communities, children and our families. So representing all children in the classroom materials, whether that is through your books, your dolls, puzzles, if parents are bringing in cultural items from home, just making sure that all children are represented through your classroom materials. Ensuring that all children are an important part of the classroom by listening to all children's ideas, helping them follow through with those ideas and plans, and encouraging the cooperation among all children. So when they have those ideas, like I want to build a tent, then it's our job to provide them with some big pieces of cloth and ask them, what else do you need for your tent? Family engagement. So having families come into your classroom whenever possible. Some families feel more comfortable than others with this. Some families have more time for this, but getting to know each family and finding out how can they become engaged in the classroom. If they work during the day, is it by saving some food boxes for in the mud kitchen or the indoor dramatic play area? How can we engage families and have them represented in the classroom? So here is just one idea that I just really love to provide an inclusive classroom community of children and families. I call it the classroom tapestry. And this is something that can be done at the very beginning of the year, maybe at the first parent meeting or orientation, the child's first day of school. You can have the parent write what their hopes and dreams are for their children on this, on a ribbon. And you can see that the ribbons are weaved through a loom. You don't have to have a fancy loom like the one in the picture. I have used an old picture frame and just used twine or yarn to tie around it, so then the parents can weave in and out or tie their dreams onto it. I like to hang this on the wall so that it is always there, so that when parents come in, they can see we all have dreams for our children. And here it is hanging right here on the wall. This makes us this inclusive classroom community. Here's another idea to have families, a classroom puzzle, inclusive family communities of children and families, and the classroom puzzle. So the sign above it says, every piece is unique, but together we are complete. So I just love that phrase. And you can see that each family has decorated a piece of the puzzle and then added it to this frame to make a classroom puzzle. And again, hanging it where everybody can see, where everybody can be reminded that we all have this dream for our children and that we are all in this together. So when we think about children's social emotional development, we need to think about those relationships and how we're building those relationships with children. Inclusiveness, valuing all children and families, representing families' cultures and the cultures within the community of the classroom. Recognizing each child's developmental level and building on their current development. Through your relationships, children's cognitive development will advance, allowing self-regulation to develop and also resiliency. And really, isn't that our end goal, for children to be resilient and to have self-regulation? We need to be celebrating all children and families and all of the differences that they are bringing into your classroom. So thank you for joining me today. Delight in those children every day, even the ones that exhaust you. Just keep in mind they are the ones that need you the most. And remember that we are all in this together. Again, my name was Melissa Thiebaut. I'm from Early Childhood Consultants. My website is earlychildhoodconsultants.org, and you can reach me at my email, earlychildhoodconsultants.mt@gmail.com. And I do have references at the very end if anybody is interested in taking a look at the references.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was such a great session. I hope that everybody chooses another session to go to, and we will see you soon.